Okay, welcome to Wednesday, June 13th, 2018, Parks and Recreation Commission meeting. The time is 6:04. Rachel, could you please take roll?
Yes, thank you. Joe Greer,
Present?
Jessica West,
Present.
Keith Bevan,
Present.
Shell Jensen. Present. Kayla McNay is absent. John Nesmith,
Present.
Mike Peppin,
Present.
Craig Steele,
Present.
Anna Sturdivant.
Present. Okay, we need to have an adoption of the agenda. Can I get a motion?
Madam President,
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion that we adopt tonight's agenda.
Commissioner Sturdivant seconds.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I need an approval of the May 9th, 2018 regular meeting minutes.
Madam President, I move we adopt the meeting minutes.
Craig still seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And we have announcements with Shelley Houston.
Hello, Commissioners. How are you? Good to see everyone.
Good.
In just a moment, I'm going to give you each a pack of 3 little pieces of paper because we like to kill trees like that. But they're important. First of all, I want to remind you, tomorrow night is the City Meridian Employee and Volunteer Family Picnic. So you're all invited to join us at Kleiner Park, 5:30 p.m. We'll be in the big A1 shelter over there by the playground and the basketball court as usual. We're serving up hot doggies and hamburgies, the side dishes, desserts. We'll have a bounce house and some music with Officer Gomez and lots of door prizes. So it'll be a nice time. There's no cost to attend. So hopefully you and your families will join us tomorrow at 5:30 at Kleiner Park for the picnic. And I'll send a flyer home so you can show your spouse or children or your companion. I'll also give you the calendar of upcoming events. Boy, we're just cycling through as fast as we can. Renee White's going to give you an update on some of our ongoing events and what she's working on. I'm just going to touch on a couple things. This coming Monday, June 18th at 5, there's going to be a dedication of the new mural at the Meridian Mill. It's called the Zamzo's Feed Mill. So in support of the Arts Commission, some of us are going to make a point to attend to support that. So that's Monday at 5 at the feed mill, just near here. Dairy Days will be taking place. Our Mayor's Youth Advisory Council, they will be decorating a Parks and Rec pickup truck and handing out 12,500 pixie sticks, which I don't like tardy candy, so I've kept my nose out of it, thank goodness. But anyway, so we'll get them rigged up. And then City Councilman Burnt and Borton will both also accompany the Youth Council in the Dairy Days Parade. That'll take place Friday, June 22nd at 6:45 p.m. all along Main Street, as you can imagine. If you need details, let me know. Got the concerts on Broadway dates here for you, 2 in July, 2 in August. Some of these events, even though they're not classically ours, people associate them with us, and we kind of have a stake in their success. The third sheet of paper, in addition to the picnic invitation, the calendar, and whatnot, is a flyer reminding you that our new and improved Meridian Main Street Farmers Market will debut here at City Hall on Saturday, June 23rd. It'll run every Saturday from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. through September 1st. And I really hope we get out the gate with a good, strong showing. They've really done a good job. We have some professional market managers that are really event professionals that are keeping their thumb on it. I think they've got like Gaston's Bakery from Boise that'll be a regular bakery provider. Water Wheel Gardens, I heard, is committed their produce. So if we can just reassure the vendors that come and show up that this is a viable market and there is an audience and we're interested in what they're selling, it'll make it that much easier for us to build and grow the market and see it be a success so that one day Meridian can too have a large, thriving, booming Saturday market. So take a look at the items I give you when you get time. Share it with your families. If you have any questions whatsoever, be sure to just call and ask me and I'll fill you in on the scooperoonie. That's it for now. Any questions at the moment? It's a scientific term. Scooperoonie, look it up. Use the Google. Okay, I'm going to hand you your little
Like
packets, and then
tarty candy.
I'll be taking my leave. So it's good to see you all.
Thank you, Shelley.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Was it working? Okay.
Okay, we have more announcements with Steve Sidaway.
So thank you, Madam President, members of the commission. I'm on here to talk about our commission team building activity on July 11th. We talked about this last month, but just to reiterate, tonight would normally be the night for our annual team building activity. It usually falls on our regular meeting night in June. But this month we, like Shelley just announced, a reminder that the city picnic is tomorrow night, and in order to avoid having two picnic type activities in a row, which didn't seem the best use of our time, our team building activity has been moved to July. We're holding a regular meeting tonight. We have reached out to the YMCA. We do plan on holding that activity at the new Hillsdale Park. That's what the location we discussed last month. They have confirmed their willingness to host a tour for us of the new YMCA facility that night, and the new director, Mike Kapuscinski, may even join us for our barbecue. We've invited him to do so, and so we'll look forward to having our team building activity along with a YMCA tour at our July meeting next month. Any questions? Okay, thanks.
Running through the tubes of water? Yeah, no.
So
I'm not.
It is at 11th is at Hillsdale.
At Hillsdale, correct.
Yeah, we will meet at Hillsdale Park at one of the picnic shelters. They're kind of near the playground.
I'm sure there'll be an email with some more.
We will
information
send out
following.
details.
Yeah. Rachel's
Yeah, I
pretty
kind of liked your, the previous years of the dessert contest that you guys had going on. So,
Huh.
gotta say, I'm kind of feeling that. So,
I think we could handle dessert contest.
I get robbed every year.
but you can keep bringing the kneaders all you want.
Yeah, that was pretty good. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, we do not have any old business, so moving on to new business. We have Colin.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the commission. Good evening. So I'm just going to give a quick introduction of this item, kind of set the stage for how we got to where we are today. We have some folks here that are going to testify to talk about the request that's before you. But so again, I'll just provide some introductory information. So you have in your packet a request to name Field 8 at Settlers Park in honor of Kate Marshall. And then you have also some supporting letters from community members, as well as some of the articles from local newspapers. And so what you'll be, you also have the naming request, or the naming policy in your packet. So it kind of goes over what the process is for this type of thing. We'll be hearing it here at the commission, and then once you all are finished and make a decision on what you want to do, you will be making a recommendation at the end of this to City Council. We'll go on to City Council here in the next week or two. I've not decided, what that date would be, depending on what the wishes are of the commission. And I also just wanted to, I guess, say that it's a bit of a unique request because, we've had naming requests in the past. Typically what would happen is you would hear the request and then we would move forward from there on deciding what to do to honor the person that the facility is named after. In this case, we already have some things that are created. There's a sign there that the picture of which is in your packet, as well as a rock that were both created. So the rock is here on on your screens. And so the rock and the sign were both at Settlers Park during a tournament that was hosted last year by Meridian Youth Baseball in Kate Marshall's honor. The rock has since been removed from the park. The sign is actually still there on field number 8. And so there's there'll be a couple different things that you'll have to consider tonight. First is the actual naming of the field, and then second of all is whether or not we want to use the existing items that have been already produced, or if we want to go a different direction. And so those will be the things that will be before you tonight. So I will go ahead and step aside and allow Marty and Trent and Coach Corey, right?
I didn't know that we were presenting. I thought you were going to present our proposal that we sent in.
Oh, and
You can read that for me?
would you like me to do that?
Yes, I'm not going to get through it.
Okay. So with that, I will go ahead and read the proposal. Is that good? Okay. And so I'll go ahead and read the proposal, and then after that, we'll allow anyone that would like to testify to do so. So let me see here. Okay. So this was submitted by Marty and Trent Marshall. So to whom it may concern, I am the mother of Catherine Kate Marshall, a bright and compassionate young lady who passed away suddenly on May 12th, 2017, after her strep throat infection progressed to sepsis and toxic shock. She was 15 years old. Our family and friends hope to honor Kate's memory with a permanent memorial at Settlers Park in Meridian. Kate, who lived in Meridian her whole life, was a straight-A student at Rocky Mountain High School and a role model to her peers. She truly enjoyed helping others. One of her classmates described how Kate went out of her way to show kindness to her as a new student in middle school. She shared that Kate was always friendly, helped her with schoolwork, and continued to check on her once they moved on to Rocky. Kate also frequently helped another student who was struggling in his class. She thought that he just needed a little bit more explanation and attention. In general, she felt that schools need more teachers who take the time to understand what each kid needs, and dreamed of being a teacher someday herself. Kate was kind-hearted and generous in other ways too. Her elementary school teacher shared that Kate would always pick kids for a team or class partnership who normally wouldn't be picked. As a freshman at Rocky, Kate told us that she had a classmate that she believed was homeless. Kate wanted to know how she could help her without offending her. We were working on this together when Kate died. In addition to her excellence in the classroom and kindness toward peers, Kate was a stellar athlete. She was an avid skier and tried volleyball, basketball, and swimming before committing her energy to softball, her true passion. Kate started playing softball at age 8 with the Meridian Youth Baseball League and joined the Boise Blast softball organization 2 years later. She taught the girls she played with how to be good teammates, to never give up and always have each other's backs. Her teammates referred to Kate as the best teammate in the Valley. Kate contributed a great deal of energy and kindness to the softball community beyond her team, too. She loved helping younger girls learn the game, and with her competitive spirit, relished the opportunity to play against older girls. She loved the thrill of a close game and the opportunity to make the game-winning plays. She was respectful of her coaches and always eager to learn. She frequently reminded us and her teammates that the way to improve is through hard work and practice. More than one coach has told us, if I could have 8 more Kates, I would have one heck of a team. Just before her passing, Kate had achieved one of her long-term goals, making the varsity softball team as a freshman at Rocky. While her team's travels took her all across the region, Kate spent countless hours practicing and playing softball at Settlers Park over the years. This park is right across the street from our home. Field 8 was her home field, a place that gave her confidence, joy, and inspiration. We held her funeral service on Field 8, where we all felt and continue to feel her presence. Kate's father, Trent, sister Liz, and I respectfully request that Field 8 at Settlers Park be dedicated to Kate's memory as Kate's Field. The softball community has generously donated a monument rock and sign, and we hope that they can be placed permanently at Field 8. A vibrant member of the Meridian community, Kate could light up a room or a softball field with her smile. She was a daughter, sister, friend, teammate, and a good example to us all. It took a village to raise Kate and has taken a village to mourn her. Please help the softball village and Meridian honor Kate's memory and inspire her love for the game in others by dedicating Field 8 in her honor. Thank you for your consideration. Sincerely, Marty Shellman Marshall. And I'll skip the postscript. That's not part of the official request. If you read the postscript, just to, I guess, give a brief description of the process we got to get here is the rock came to the park initially without going through this process. Obviously, we're here before you for the first time, and so it came to the park initially without going through the process. In working with Marty, I like how she described that, though, as just maybe a lack of communication by some really well-intentioned people in the moments after this happened. And so we did have the rock at Settlers Park for a little while, and after we got things squared away, we did get the process moving, and so that's why we are here. And so with that being said, I will now, I guess, ask that you open it up to other community members that would like to testify. Thank you.
Thank you, Colin. Do you have anybody that wanted to give public comment on this issue? This is a tough one. I'm so sorry for your loss. I actually recall when this occurred, and I can't even imagine the heartbreak. As far as the naming of the park, I believe we just have to work through a recommendation that would go to City Council.
Madam President,
Yeah.
couple questions, Colin. Baseball community, I'm assuming, is way behind this if they've already gone through putting some stuff on the field and the rock and stuff like that. Correct.
Madam President, members of the commission, Commissioner Steele, the rock and the sign it was my understanding that Memorial Monuments is the one that's actually donated the rock. I'm not sure about the sign, but the Meridian Youth Baseball community is who was behind, getting those donated, getting those produced and put to where they were. And so, yeah, they are absolutely behind the effort.
As far as I'm concerned, I'm great with it. The only thing is, however, if staff is okay with the rock or where it's going to be, and then the sign, if we want to brand it differently, but I'm okay with either one or both.
So I'll go ahead and address the sign. I think Steve was going to talk about the rock a little bit, but the sign is actually perfect the way that it is. We have there's actually another field already at Settlers Park that's dedicated to an individual. So field number 1 is Trace Layton Field, named for Trace Layton, who was integral in getting the fields built in the first place. And so under field number 1, at the complex, there's a sign that says Trace Layton Field, and it's the exact same design as the one they produced the Kate's Field sign with. So the branding is what we would want it to be already for the sign.
And I feel for you guys in the loss. Sorry.
Madam President? Yes. Colin, are there any other memorials in plan for Kate? If she's a Rocky Mountain student, is Rocky doing anything? My concern is competition on field naming. So I'm just throwing that out there.
I'm not aware of any.
Mm-hmm. I think it's a home run, and we should absolutely do it. Is it enough? Is my question, and maybe some of you have that in the back of your head. Is a rock, which is really well done, and some signs enough? It doesn't have to be answered, but that's how I feel. Is it enough?
Madam President?
Thank you.
Do other fields that we've had in memory of individuals have like a placard that kind of does, I don't want to say like a paragraph, but a few sentences at all included in it? Do we have any kind of standard that would kind of portray who Kate is?
Madam President, members of the commission, Commissioner West, we don't, that I'm aware of, I don't know that we have any other facilities within a park. Well, I take that back. We have a couple softball fields that are named after, well, go ahead, Steve.
I just say I can help answer that. The short answer is no. There's not a standard like that. We've had very few of these types of naming requests come before us. The ones that I can think of, right over here in Centennial Park, we named the shelter and a bench after Terry Smith, who was a longtime community volunteer for many, many, many years. The Diane and Winston Moore Pathway was named in South Meridian near Gordon Harris Park, which was another one. Gordon Harris Park was named after a longtime Kiwanian who was instrumental in getting that built. It was originally going to be named Kiwanis Park, but then it was changed from Kiwanis Park to Gordon Harris Park after the individual who was the most influential in getting that built. Of course, Keith Bird Legacy Park, after long-time council member Keith Bird, who served on the council for many years, and Colin's already mentioned Trace Layton Field out in Settlers Park, and Trace was really instrumental in the construction and development of the Meridian Youth Baseball project, and donated countless hours and in-kind services toward the development of that park. I do think that the naming ordinance that has been through you and approved by council does say that when a proposal comes to you, that it needs to include a description of his or her connection to the park or facility, and to the Meridian community. So I think we've heard the connection to the facility, and just to be careful about not setting a precedent of every I don't even know what word to use, but because it's a horribly tragic story. Having the facility naming rights as a precedent, we just need to make sure that there is a strong enough connection, in your opinion, for the value and community contribution. So, and then that recommendation from you will go up to the council, and the council then has the final decision, but it will go with your recommendation.
So, Madam President, so I'd just like to say, so I read the documents that Colin included, and I think that the values and the character that she had is what we hope all of our children have. She helped others, learn sports. It sounded like she even wasn't able to practice herself, so she could help other teams with younger players learn. So, I mean, it seems like some of the documents talked about her being a leader and always being a team member that the other teammates felt they could rely on or go to. So I think those are all great values that we want to, represent as an example of what we all hope to achieve with our children and ourselves. And so I like the idea, though, of having a couple of those things somewhere stated, either on the back of the rock or on the fencing, like if there's some kind of placard. I feel like it would help so that the future generations, because this will last now forthcoming, they also get a glimpse of who Kate was. I mean, I think that would help.
I agree with that, because I think Kate was an exceptional person, I think above exceptional, and so if we do have something that kind of reiterates that, then maybe it will help with the naming of, if somebody wants to dedicate or name a park, then we have something to kind of fall back on. And plus, it would be nice to have the information, because all of the people that you're talking about that have parks named after them or areas, I have no idea about most of them. So having some information to kind of explain it might be a good idea. If there's an issue, I know that the rock was kind of an area of concern as far as locations. So I'm wondering if maybe,
I'd be happy to talk about that for a second.
yeah.
I've had a couple thoughts. You know, we got the sign, we have the rock. One option is to do both, and just the way that they were originally placed. One of the options I had been wondering about would be to name do it like the Trace Layton Field, which is the name on the fence, and not the rock. My concern with the rock was that in plan view, I thought that maybe it had the effect of appearing to name more than just that field, like the entire section of 3 fields. But after going out there, the location that's proposed does seem to have a tie to this particular field. So there would be an option. The name Kate's Field is still up on the fence today, so that's already there, but in need of your recommendation and council's approval to keep it. I think it's fair to weigh in on whether or not you want the rock in addition to the sign on the fence. If we do want the rock, the location that was proposed is probably the right location. But rather than just having it placed in the grass with grass up to it where we gotta mow up to it, weed eat it, it probably belongs in more of a planter type setting with compost and flowers and things like that. So I think that either the fence sign with the field naming, or alone, and or with the item that Commissioner West just mentioned, or adding the rock in the location but making it more of a planter would be appropriate.
Madam President?
Second, do you guys have any feedback on what you would like, or?
Honestly, this was all done
Sounds like.
We need to get you on the microphone if we can.
Yeah.
We didn't know this was going to happen.
Sure.
The people at MYB came to us and asked us if they could do something, and then all of this showed up. And so we really weren't in on the planning. It was kind of a surprise to us. I mean, it's great. She was a great kid, but, you know, whatever you guys decide. If you guys don't place the rock, we will take it and put it somewhere.
I just want to make sure that we're following through on what everybody wants. Because another thought I had, we do have Memorial Plaza that we just opened up, and there is planters in that area if the rock does not make it all the way through to the top. I don't know if that's even an option.
If the rock doesn't what? Sorry?
If it's not approved all the way through, like if council doesn't approve the location.
I don't think the rock itself would belong at the plaza, but you know, certainly a brick could
yeah, same
be
idea, I
appropriate
guess.
out there. Sure.
Okay. Is anyone not in favor of this? I don't know how you could not be. Okay.
Madam
I mean,
President.
we could probably discuss it for another 30 minutes, but I kind of feel like we probably could make a recommendation.
Madam President?
Yes.
I just have a quick question for Councilman Burnt, if you will yield. I know you've had a long day of budget hearings. I would just like to know if you think anybody, based on what you've heard today, do you think anyone on City Council would be opposed to this or would have some opposition to this?
You know, Madam President, members of your commission, Council Commissioner Studeman, honestly tough for me to say, tough for me to speak on behalf of a body. It would be, in my opinion, inappropriate for me to be able to speak on behalf of our body. So I don't foresee any issues, but tough for me to speak on behalf of 5 other people. So that's the most I can say.
So Emily, do we just need a recommendation then to?
Madam President,
Yes, a motion.
just one thing, I want to follow up with Jessica. I think having a bio somewhere there close would be really helpful. So if we want to throw that into the motion, I think that would
Agreed.
be a good thing.
So we need a motion to recommend the sign, a bio, and the rock.
I could picture the bio on a metal sign, similar to what the field naming sign is, and attached to the fence, maybe below the Catesfield sign that's there.
Would you guys be okay with something like that? Yeah. Okay.
Okay, Madam President, I'll make a recommendation to approve the rock, the naming of the field, and the sign to go with it on Field 8 of Settlers Park.
Craig Steele seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Madam President, I think the last thing I'd ask the family is, in order for taking this to council, I think we would like to present, or prepare you or a spokesman from you to be an applicant and speak as an applicant to the council. And to do that, we just need to know what night would work best for you. We could do this as early as next Tuesday, the 19th, the week after, the 26th, I think also works. And we can go further out if you want more time. But so this all gets presented again to the city council. Yeah, this will happen again. The same thing. And I think when it does go to council, it would be helpful to have a spokesperson designated on behalf of the applicant, if we can work that out. Do you have a date preference? You can continue to working with Colin. When you say that Tuesday, do you mean the 19th or the 26th? The 19th? Okay. Because we're streaming, can we get you up to the microphone? Sorry.
Because we have a very large softball tournament that we are in the middle of coordinating. The 20, did you say the 26th? Yes, that would.
I think that's a Tuesday. Does anyone have a?
Tuesday after the blast tournament.
Yeah, 26th would be the last Tuesday in June.
Yeah, that would definitely work better.
Okay, let's aim for the 26th, and feel free to coordinate through Colin, and we'll get you on that calendar.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for hearing it, and I hate to run, but our other daughter is at softball practice.
That's okay. Everyone leaves after they're finished.
Thank you for being here.
It'll be empty.
We don't expect you to stay long.
Yeah, we don't expect you to sit through all this.
You're fine. We do have to go to another
That's the protocol, so you're good. Thank you so much.
And Coach, did you have anything you wanted to say on the record while you're here? You made the trick. Okay.
Thank you. Okay, it's hard to recover from that. So we have a MIAC participatory budgeting project update.
Yes, we do.
Oh.
Do you guys have a PowerPoint at all? Or you just... Who did you send? Did you send it to Mike or?
I don't know. It wasn't us. We have other people in the group, and they took care of it.
Uh-oh. We are not familiar with the.
We have it on our phone, so we can just do it verbally, I guess. So, is that okay?
It's okay. Yeah, we'd love to be able to show it. I'm trying to think if there's any way to pull it off your phone and get it up for everyone to see.
I don't have it.
Can you email it from your phone?
I'm not the creator of it, so I can't actually share it with you. I don't think so.
Is it a Google Doc?
Yeah. Well, it's like a slide.
Be able to.
If you have it as a Google Doc, I wonder if you could email it to us and we could pull it up. Why don't we, can we take 5 minutes and,
Take a minute.
and pause? see
Take
if
a
we can
short
bring this up?
recess.
Full update?
Absolutely. Need time to recover anyway.
Yeah. If he got it as an email, he should be able to forward it. Maybe they supplied dinner, huh? Oh. Hey, you got 5 minutes for sandwiches. From what? Earlier with their budget meetings. There's a couple left in there.
I wasn't in charge of sending it to you guys, so.
Take a look real quick. We're on the counter right next to the fridge, but look in the fridge.
Let's see if I just can.
Is this it, do you think?
You wanna use the PowerPoint you used when you proposed it to Maya?
Yeah, that is just the same.
It's the same thing? Okay, I have that from Britain in here then.
Well, you have,
I'll show you what it looks like.
just checking my email to see if I got an invite.
Sorry, Rachel, the screen muted right before, like right when we got started, and it shut off, the computer did, so that's why I moved. I didn't mean to do it, but. Okay. Oh, well, I got it back on, but I'm gonna stay here. Okay, thank you. Sorry, I was sitting there and then I thought, I was like, what happened? It just shut off. So it's back up again, but then I thought, I don't know. So I just, that's why I moved and took Canvas. I didn't mean to. I was sitting there before it, and then of course it starts, and I'm like, ah. Should we go to the next thing? Come back?
I'm excited. I don't know. I think we're like almost so close that I can check stuff. I think that's pretty cool. That's awesome.
Down from 200.
Cool that they have those. We have that
Are you
technology.
glad you're past? You glad you're
It does look like we're making progress, so keep visiting. We got about
Oh, making
Feel that.
126 more megabytes to download, but we are getting there.
Cool. Right on.
Get through all of it and say, file too large.
You have intravenous? Going down.
82 megabytes. Megabyte at a time. Just is really slowed down, but it's still moving. Megabytes to go. Usually the word is about 10 or 15.
You can't go back. Because it's.
Oh, it's not sending the actual PowerPoint? That's seems strange. Oh. Well, it shouldn't be that. It's starting to move. You a guy in Pearl sold RC car parts. He had a little office in a strip mall. Who's thinking of streaming? It's picking up all their conversations.
Take your picture and send it to Jody. Stand there like you're presenting. Yeah. Yeah.
Hi, Ryan. We are in a commission meeting and trying to bring up a PowerPoint, but the right hand, the staff right computer that it needs to show from is acting completely frozen. We need to reboot it or unfreeze it or reboot it or something. Yes, you. Yeah, it looks like it's gonna work. Yeah, let me keep you on the phone for a minute and see if we can get. Looks like it's gonna work. Let me just keep you on in case I have another question. Think. Okay, we got it. Thank you. All right.
Do we control it up here, or do you guys?
Okay, thank you for your patience, and to anyone that's watching the streaming, we apologize, but we do have the presentation up and ready to show. So I'll turn it back to you, Madam President.
Welcome.
Are
You guys ready?
Yeah.
We're good.
All right. So we're from MIAC. It's our participatory budgeting project. So we're doing fix-it stations, and we're going to be presenting it to you today. I'm Connor Rubak. This is
Brianna Whirl.
And so just to get it off started, so what it is, so we're going to, it says 9, but since we created this slide, we've actually added the library on Cherry Road. So we actually have 10 bike repair stations throughout Meridian, and we're going to have 2 5x5 concrete pads in 2 of those locations because there's not actually a spot for us to put them currently. Why? It improves public health of our city. It's economically effective. It increases the city unity. When it comes to improving how many people ride their bikes and all that type of stuff, it is the government's best choice on improving all those things that I've listed. And transportation, specifically bike transportation, is an issue in Meridian, and this is one of the greatest ways that we can solve it. So these are our 10 locations. So we have the new Fast Eddies because we actually partnered with Fast Eddies. So this column will be what they're paying for, and the right column will be what we're paying for. So the new Fast Eddies location, Coal Valley Christian High School, Kleiner Park, Settlers Park, Tully Park, that'll be one of the concrete pads we need. Story Park is actually a lock-in. Paramount is still in question, and we're trying to get in contact with our HOA. Nothing's for sure there. Moving over to what MIAC will actually be paying for is Heroes Park, Bear Creek Park, where we will need another concrete pad. Rita Husky Park and the library, like I said, is also a lock-in. Here's just a visual representation of all the...
Can you go back one?
Oh,
So where is
I have no idea how to go
that
back.
new Fast Eddies?
There we go. Huh?
Where's the new Fast Eddies?
I'm not 100% sure.
You go north of UC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
it'll
okay.
just be on that new location. And we have to wait until it gets built for it to...
So I just have questions, so I apologize. So it looks like most of the locations are at parks. So is there like an overlap radius of how far apart these are by chance? Or did you guys just go with park?
So
that's what your next slide
this is the main map of where everything will be. Except for the Paramount Park, that's the one overlap that's not going to be there. But this is pretty much everything. I don't know if so there is an overlap where Kleiner and Fast Eddies, but they wanted it in their new location, so that's about the only.
I just know that on our Pathways tour, somebody had a flat tire.
I was going to say,
So
you
I
guys
was
are a couple
thinking-
months late.
So I was thinking
Okay.
that,
We need
that
one
some
on.
of these, on the Pathways.
See, about halfway between Linder and Meridian Road would have been perfect for one of these.
Somebody ended the tour. Okay, sorry, thank you.
All right. Is everybody? Are you...
On that thought of, like at Rita Husky, where, are you gonna put it in the park, or are you gonna put it over, like, you know, maybe over by the pathway or something when people
I'm not exactly sure where Rita Husky is. One of our partners who is not here currently was the one that scouted that out, so I can't actually answer that. I'm sorry. Do you know?
Madam President and Councilman Nesmith, I think that we would I know they've been meeting with Mike, and I haven't been in those meetings directly, and Mike's out of town tonight, but I believe we would probably encourage that to be next to the pathway, because they are pathway-related
That's where I was
amenities, so.
Exactly.
Was Rita Husky one that needed a concrete pad? I guess can we go back one slide, Rachel?
That's where you're gonna get your.
No, it is
like in
not.
Tully.
Right.
So,
Right.
I don't know exactly what is planned, but I think next to the pathway is appropriate.
Okay.
With the concrete
That's what I was hoping for, so I was
Oh,
kind
it
of.
sounds like we have
With the
someone that knows.
concrete pads, it does depend on where we put it. So if we were to put it on the pathways, we might need a concrete pad, but it just depends.
Any other questions?
Madam President, I have a question. So why do some need a concrete pad and some don't?
Just the layout of the park. Like if the best, like the most traffic area doesn't have enough concrete, then that's where we would choose to put a concrete.
So they'll all be in concrete, right? They're
They'll all
anchored
be on
into concrete,
but
just some don't have,
existing,
okay.
some
Right,
don't.
all right.
So. Any other?
Just a question for the downtown area. Madam President, I have a question for the downtown area. It didn't look like there's one in the downtown. Is the bike shop that is downtown Meridian, do they offer like fill up and repair services?
I don't know exactly what that specific shop offers, but
There's one in Coal Valley.
yeah, there is one.
Which is right across the street from the
So it's
bicycle
not
shop.
directly in downtown, but it is in
to the post office.
general area.
Okay, thank you. That's what I was wondering.
It's just not on the map.
Yeah, Coal Valley's not circled, I noticed, but it is in downtown.
Yeah.
Good question.
Madam President? Yes. So what exactly, I could kind of tell from the picture, what all is included in these repair stations?
It can repair flat tires, broken chains, just really the basic bicycle.
There's an air pump with them.
Yeah, so it has a pump, a rack, so you can actually hang your bike up and do the repairs, and then it has a toolkit with it. So.
Oh, cool.
Okay, that would have been good to know, because I just.
Oh yeah, there's
my
a
son's bike.
picture right there.
Okay.
So the toolkit's down. On
See
the
all
bottom.
those, right here?
Yeah.
See all the different things hanging?
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay, cool, yeah.
Those are all different tools.
Tools
You got the
hanging in
pump
there?
And, yeah.
And cables? Oh, okay, cool, yeah.
CUNA City Hall has one behind it, and it's pretty cool.
Nice.
So is there information on each one of these to explain to people how to use it if they're not sure?
Yeah, there are instructions.
Okay.
There is going to be a QR code that you can scan
Nice.
that brings you to a website that has them.
See, I'm thinking halfway between Meridian and Linder would have been really good on the Bud Porter pathway.
Any more questions?
Madam President, I might just point out that we also do have one of these existing in Centennial Park here in downtown.
Okay.
Just thought about that. That one does exist today. And then just further down the road along Pine Street from downtown and where it's currently under construction, we do have plans to build a bike refuge station with one there as well.
Nice.
How much are they? Just out of curiosity.
We'll be getting into that.
Oh, okay, cool. Right on.
If we stop asking questions, it's like, where are you guys done?
So the look of them, Fast Eddie's stations will be orange with their logo on it, I believe so. And then our stations will be the Meridian blue color with either the Mayak sticker logo or the Meridian City logo.
Or both, potentially.
Yes.
Very nice. And so Fast Eddie's will be donating their stations. Is that okay?
Yeah. So the cost per station is $1,300. Working with Fast Eddie's, they got us a discount with the company that makes them, 15% discount. The shipping cost is $344, and when presenting to City Council, depending on how we go with it, the sales tax will not be included. The concrete pads are $10 per square feet, and we're going to have 2 of them. So all together, it's going to be about $6,000, and we're going to be turning back $13,998.94 back to the city of Meridian.
So how much concrete do you need for each one of those? Do you know the size?
Each is a 5x5 pad.
5x5. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Nope, that was
Okay.
there we go.
Okay, so MIAC's cost, like I said earlier, is $6,263, give or take a little, depending on if we work with Paramount or not. So we're giving back to the city $13,000, or between $13,000 and $14,000. Fast Eddie's, what they'll be paying is $7,735 with their sponsored stations, and our total stations will be 10 as of right now, unless we get Paramount on board.
And so what is Paramount's holdup? Are they not, is it the HOA or how
Yes,
does
you'd have to go through the HOA.
Okay.
And this is the total of cost, including Fast Eddie's. That's not
Okay.
what you guys would get back.
Oh, right, because your cost is the 6,900, okay.
So, any more questions?
Madam President, so why did you choose to return the almost $14,000 instead of putting that into a different project?
Because we accomplished our goal, especially when we partnered with Fast Eddie's and they offered to pay that money. So we didn't see the need to spend unnecessary taxpayer money when we already accomplished our goal. So we figured we should return that money instead of using it wastefully.
Madam President?
Mm-hmm.
So typically, City Council just gives out the $20,000, and they're open to sponsoring several projects or one large project. So did they have any comments on that when they saw that they were going to get most of their money back for the year?
No, they were just happy they were getting money back. So,
do you think that this will go towards like next year's MIAC PB project, or it's just going to go straight back into their budget?
They didn't mention anything, but I would like to think so. But yeah, they didn't.
Does Councilman Treg know?
All right.
No, I won't carry over.
Could have added some more stations.
Yeah.
One in the middle.
Between. That is, that's an interesting project. I will have to say, the past few years, you guys have come up with different construction projects. They've been very valuable. I've actually purchased a couple of the pavers for the Memorial Plaza, so it's appreciated that you guys come up with these ideas. It makes the city better.
It was over the bridge.
Madam President?
Right, all the way over. That's our main pathway.
Oh.
We were talking about locations here.
I would be interested to know if you would be open to doing more locations, maybe more locations in Southern Meridian. But I just wanted to say it was a lot of fun kind of overseeing the PB project in partnership with Arlie and Mayor Tammy. We were just kind of hoping that someone like you would come forward with lots of ideas and lots of spunk. So you've come to a lot of these meetings. So thank you for being here and presenting, and sorry for our technical difficulties.
For 1,000 questions, because, you know, we are Parks and Rec, so you're speaking our language.
Madam President?
Yes.
Is this year's budget, meaning you will spend it by 1 October?
I believe so, yes.
So this is approved money right now. This is not what you're asking for. One thing I haven't seen yet is a timeline of purchase and installation. So while I appreciate savings, I also would appreciate if we have the time and the bandwidth to look at other opportunities to place these. And if you and the folks around your age group can identify a few more, I think that, from my perspective, as the city approves money each year, that is money well spent. I do like your thought of giving back what you can, but that money is there to benefit the community, and if more stations in a strategic place can be fit into this budget, I would like to see a little bit, and you don't have to bring it back to me, but I'd like to see you guys look at more opportunities with Park and Rec's help. Just my thought. Get them closer to the parks, get them closer to the bike paths, because we want to drive more participation in our pathways and the schools. So,
Madam President, what about, if they wanted to add another one, if there was time, could it be purchased for the new South Meridian for the future installation of it?
I would say yes.
Because that's going to be a huge park. It would probably appreciate a better station.
Is that something that should just be in the parks for future construction, or is that a budgetary issue?
Well, it's kind of a new amenity that's just kind of a current trend. A few years ago, they didn't even exist. But so if there's something that you're interested in being a standard amenity, the way picnic shelters are, or any other number of things, I think we can talk about that.
Probably could be good on the pathways. Anyone else? I think we're done picking on you. Thank you so much for your presentation and for the project. I'm excited to see it.
Good job.
Thank you.
Okay, Miss Renee White.
Hello and good evening.
Hi.
Thanks for having me tonight. I'm going to talk about our special events. I'm going to really kind of get into the weeds on some of these, and I'll stop as I go through each event so that we can talk about it and I can take questions rather than waiting to the end. I don't want you to forget your questions. But I'm going to start with something, a little quote, a little bit about community. So what is community? Community is a group of people living in the same place or having a particular characteristic in common. A feeling of fellowship with others as a result of sharing common attitudes, interests, and goals. So of course, all the events that we do and everything that I work on, I'm striving to create that feeling, that sense of community and that sense of belonging. So with that, I started with a picture of all of us at the end of last year's Cable One movie night. It was a good night. Okay, so 2018, these are the events that we produce: Unplug and Be Outside, Cable One Movie Night, Gene Kleiner Day, Independence Day Festival, Community Block Party, Trunk or Treat, Christmas in Meridian. I promise I'm not going to read all of my slides to you. But there is one more that is added to this year, and that was the Marty Party, as we affectionately called it, but it was the Hillsdale Park Grand Opening Celebration. Okay, so Unplug and Be Outside. We made some changes to it this year. We moved it a couple weeks with the hope that we could gain some good weather, and yes, we were successful. For the second year in a row, we added a kickoff. So if you're not familiar with Unplug and Be Outside Week, it is a week's worth of free activities. There's a variety of classes. We offer classes for every age group, from preschool all the way to families and senior citizens can attend. The whole intent is that we get people to put down their devices. We get them, offer them an introductory class where they can go and maybe try something that they haven't tried before. Try to break it down so that it's easy, fun, and free. And really to get people active and engaged with each other. So the kickoff was tremendously successful. This was the second year we did it. The first year we did it in Story Park, and the weather was horrendous. It was awful. So we had, maybe 100 people. This year we had probably closer to 3,000 people. So it was great. These are a couple pictures. The one on the left is Kelsey from Summer Wind Skippers. She handed out 150 free jump ropes, so kids got to leave with jump ropes after they took watched the demonstration and then took a little class. And this was actually one of my favorite moments because I don't always get to stand and watch, but I do with them because they're such amazing young performers. And watching a young girl who was a little timid, didn't know if she wanted to get into the double dutch. I don't know if you've seen, they do nice big rope things. And she got in, and by the time she was done, she was smiling, grinning ear to ear, and was just super happy. And I think those little moments are why I do my job. You can see on the right is, that's Leroy Sonata, who's doing a bicycle rodeo. They let me use the bicycle, and I got on, and it is not easy. You would think that it would be, kids are doing this. It's not easy to do, but it's definitely good training for kids and their bicycles. A few other really great moments. This was Treasure Valley Youth Theater. Look at those kids. They're having a great time. This was Republic Services. Rachel Klein. Klein? What's her name? Rachel Klein. They used 4.5 gallons of free tire slime. So they had a station where they fixed flats, so you could take your bicycle down, they'd fix your flat, and they went through 4.5 gallons of that. So it was hugely successful. We had dance classes, and then of course, after the demonstration, kids got up and tested out their dance skills. And these are some of the football players that came in from Boise State and did a football clinic. A few other things that were hugely successful at Unplug and Be Outside. St. Luke's Children's Hospital came and gave away helmets. They gave away 150 helmets in an hour and a half. They stayed, and then they're like, well, we'll give away our stickers and our other information, and all of that was gone by about another 45 minutes, so they ended up leaving. Hopefully they're better prepared. I shouldn't say that. They gave away 150 helmets. It was amazing. Hopefully they can bring more. They were very prepared. We had the Boise Co-op did bicycle smoothies, which is fun, and talked about good, healthy eating. And then, of course, we were there handing out activity guides and talking about our bingo. As part of Unplug and Be Outside, I was able to secure a $1,400 grant, which allowed us to buy some prizes. And based on some of the information I got, actually, it was Steve who said, when there was a passport, it incentivized his boys to do more of the classes. Let's go do one more. And so it was something I believe Colin had started years ago. And so we brought it back in a little different form, and we gave away 25 prizes for anybody who participated in classes and stayed Unplug and Be Outside. And let me read one of the quotes from one of the moms. Mr./Miss White. Of course, I'm Miss White. I am writing to let you know our family successfully unplugged for the whole week! Exclamation point. We made it 6 days. I think that's still pretty good. We went to the kickoff event as a family, and then we're outside every day and had zero electronics unless I needed to look up some information. I did it too. It was tough, but we spent tons of time outside playing and had a positive experience, to say the least. So, in addition to that, I just want to say we got news coverage from Channel 7 and Channel 6, plus we did a live remote with Larry Gebert, and thanks to Steve for coming out for that.
Thank you. And I want to add that KTVB piece that they did was picked up nationally by NRPA. NRPA does what they call a smart brief. It's an email where they provide links to Parks and Recreation stories from across the nation, and that was one of them that week that they picked up, which was kind of cool.
Very nice.
Okay, so before I move on, questions, comments, thoughts on Unplug and Be Outside?
Thank you for the photos.
What's that?
Thank you for the photos. It's nice to see the kids participating. And
well, while we're talking about photos, if you are not already on Parks and Recreation's Facebook page, Shelley does an amazing job of going and really capturing every single event, well, almost 99% of our events, and post pictures, and she's really spectacular, and so they can give you just a really good sense of every event that we do. So, okay, other thoughts? Speaking of photos, so this was outdoor photography, and our very own Rachel was there. Shelley was there, and I'm in there too. So,
okay. That's awesome.
That was just a silly photo. Okay, we had 35 different organizations, or no, we had 35 different classes, but these are the organizations that offered individual classes. And I will say that, while I'm pushing for more adult and senior activities, I'm pushing for more recreation things and things that people can do with families. Sports is for youth is by far the most popular, most well-attended. But I'm gonna keep pushing. Okay, the Hillsdale Park grand opening. This was a blast. So again, we dubbed this the Marty Party because Marty Hill and Dixie Cook, they sponsored their favorite band from Arizona to come up and perform, and they were delightful. We also had a car show that was really pretty cool. I don't know if you dig old cars, but it was really cool. So you should go online and see the rest of the photos. I didn't put them all here. This was one of the events that was challenged by weather, as all outdoor events are challenged by weather. But we were able to, the event started at 5 o'clock on a Friday night after the ribbon cutting and dedication of the entire Hill project. So we got going at 5. The band took the stage at 6 and came off at about 7:30. But that's not bad for a free event. It was one of the neatest things that I've ever seen in a community. When the band quit and the rain started, the audience jumped up to help the band load up their music equipment so that it didn't get wet. Yeah. This event was covered not only by Marty and Dixie Marty Hill and Dixie Cook, thank you, but Russell Corp was a sponsor for us, and so they paid for some of the extra activities, including that's a Sonoma surfboard. Yeah. Questions, thoughts? So this will not be obviously an annual event unless Marty Hill, if you're listening, wants to help us do it again.
Unless he wants to sponsor that.
Yeah, I kind of think he did. These were the different partners that were there. Everyone provided some activities, and then we also welcomed Caleb Hood from Community Development. They're starting to talk about their community planning, so we graciously set up a tent for him and let him come play with us. Questions? Okay, I don't want to barrel through this without your input. Cable One movie night. Okay, we are in our 12th year, and one of the most amazing things ever is our brand new projector. I adore our projector. So thanks to Cable One, they re-sponsored us for another 5 years. We were able to purchase a $16,000 projector for less than $10,000. Little negotiating there. What it does is it really shores up our ability to the projection is always clear, it's always crisp, it's always good, and because it is a laser projector and it is so good, we can start before it's super dark. So we start it a little before it's really dark because it's so visible and it looks so great. A few things going on with Cable One Movie Night. One of our challenges are the teenagers that come and hang out. I think Colin has on his list of gaps a teen center, which I am wholly in support of. 99.9% of these teens that come they're good kids. They just are, they're playing, they get into very large groups. They can become quite intimidating for moms with kids to walk through. They start playing push me, pull me, and so it's, we really try our best to get them to sit down and keep it to a dull roar. Along with that, so I sat down with Emily, and thanks to huge Emily, she brought together the Meridian PD, and we sat down and we talked about, okay, what can we do? What came out of that conversation was the police had the option of issuing a trespassing ticket if somebody was asked to leave movie night, which I've never done, but now I can do. They didn't want to do that because it was a misdemeanor, which is a pretty big deal. Not only is it a misdemeanor on a kid's record, but it takes months for it to get through the court system. And so what they requested was the ability ability to issue a citation. Lieutenant Harper took that in front of City Council with, of course, Steve's support. And so now we have a slap on the wrist, a quick something that we can do. So we haven't started it yet. It'll start this Friday. Colin gets to be the first to be there since he's graciously covered while I'm attending a wedding this weekend. I actually get a Friday off, which I appreciate that. So we'll see how it works. I will tell you that just having police presence at movie night makes a huge difference, and I think they're trying to step up their presence there. So now when we ask them to sit down, at least they comply. So it's that's our biggest challenge, and of course it's my heart to protect movie night, that it's remain family friendly, and that anybody of any age can go and feel comfortable and doesn't feel intimidated by the huge buzzing of teenagers. So.
May I give out citations at my house? I usually have about 15 teenagers, so I do understand that the groups can be intimidating and a little frustrating, but I saw that policy. I thought that was a pretty good move just to mitigate the situation, but I certainly wouldn't mind being able to give out citations.
Yeah, well, we hope so. Like I said, we haven't had to do it yet, and I hope we don't. We do have signs up that now say that it's possible for them to get a ticket if they are disruptive, and then don't exit the park if they are asked to leave. So I will report to you next year to see how that worked. I will say the other thing that we have done is we've tried to stop the traffic that walks from the movie night area over to Fast Eddie's and back. And I think that will help. If they don't want to be there to watch the movie, our message to them is, hey, go find someplace else to hang out. So, all right. Other questions about movie night? Hopefully you've got a schedule on your refrigerator and you're planning to come and see these fun movies.
I believe this weekend is The Lion King.
This weekend's The Lion King. It's the circle of life.
Madam President.
Yes.
Renee, because the movie nights are so popular and usually very highly attended, have you thought about adding more nights of the week or extending movie night to other times during the year at a different venue? Has there been any discussion about that?
No.
Actually, we have done some of those in the past. We actually did a Saturday night movie night that was more teen-oriented movies with limited success. We've talked about multiple venues. We've talked about trying to do a teen hangout place. The problem is staffing, and the ability to do all those just takes more and more people, resources, and costs that we currently don't have.
You need an adult movie night so they can get away from the kids.
Yeah.
Show those old classic movies or whatever, and kind of like the Shakespeare Festival. They can bring their little basket and
part of the challenge with movie night is you can't begin until it's dark. Mm-hmm. So even on any night of the week, you're not leaving until midnight. Not sure what the attractiveness would be of that on a weeknight for adults. I don't know about you guys, but I'm usually in bed before midnight. Except for movie night. Okay. Other thoughts, questions? It's a great event, and the attendance is strong, so I'm really pleased to be working with that. Okay, looking forward. Before I move on, we had Gene Kleiner Day. Gene Kleiner Day is a day to celebrate the man who donated the park and all of the funding to create Kleiner Park. Traditionally, we bring the Meridian Symphony Orchestra. Again, weather was a challenge. We weren't sure exactly. So last year we called it because of rain, because it dumped dogs and cats, literally, until about 1 o'clock. The sky just opened up and it dumped, and it looked like on the radar there was nothing but more coming. So we made the call, and then at about, I don't know, at 5 o'clock, the sky was beautiful, and all the wet was gone, and people were there. So it was a little embarrassing to have to stand there and explain to people who were there to see the symphony last year. Oh yeah, we called it, this morning when it was raining cats and dogs. Certainly, it is something that we did in the interest of the equipment. The instruments are really touchy, and even just a little bit of rain on a $10,000 violin or bass, that's kind of a big deal, as well as the sound equipment itself that you don't want to get wet. But this year we took a little different approach to it, and we decided that we're going to do the same thing that we do at movie night, which is we don't make the call until game time. And we were able to put them on stage, and we had a great time. It was cut a little short. It was about 45 minutes, but wow, they know how to play, and it's really a lovely evening. We had great attendance. You'll see, though, most of the people were under blankets. Oh, how do I go back? Well, most of the people were in blankets and, no, see now, there we go. Or under umbrellas. I think Colin's the only one who came with his wife who was in shorts and didn't have a jacket. Not sure what's up with that. Yeah. So we look forward to continuing celebrating Gene Kleiner, and in the same fashion that we've been doing. So thoughts, questions before I move on? Okay. Moving on, Independence Day. We will continue to have fireworks. Oh, come on, that was a little funny, wasn't it? No. I was just seeing if you guys are still listening to me. We partner with Meridian Speedway. We offer fireworks, jump houses, and this year we're going to continue offering old-fashioned kids' games, three-legged races, water games, sack races, things that just bring back that old-fashioned feel of family fun. Nope. Okay, moving along. Community Block Party. So Community Block Party is in September, and this is one of the events that, oh, nope, there we go. This is one of the events that we have lots and lots of room to grow. Of course, it's in Kleiner Park. We can have just probably as many booths as we can hold. And so we partner with several different companies, some of them of which we ask to come. We give them the space for free if they provide activities for us, some of which we pay to be there. For instance, the train and the jump houses, some of which are just partnerships, and that we just encourage them that if they want people to stop at their booth, that they do something fun and exciting. And so there's a whole variety of activities. You're looking at Stanley. Stanley the horse wins the mascot dance-off every year. I wouldn't say it's because he's the best dancer. It is because he's got the best following. It's his fan base that comes and cheers him on. And since it is awarded by Noise and yep, he wins every year. So, and we've got some good ones. I mean, we've got Ball and I don't know. And I forget who. Yeah, we had some good. We've had some good dancers. But okay, so one of my goals for 2017 was to get more stage entertainment, and we were able to do that. We had a whole variety of dancers and. I believe. So this is some local kids, one who does Kadama and the other one who does yo-yo. They're a blast, and they brought out a bunch of folks. This was kind of the hit of the show. Corbin Maxey, he has all kinds of animals and reptiles and things and gets the kids up close, talks about them for education, and it's really a blast. This is our very own in-house team. You may recognize some of those faces. They produced an activity for Art Week in conjunction with the Art Week is produced by Hillary Bodner of the Arts Commission. Thank you. Okay, this was the other hit of the block party this year. This is a Black Hawk helicopter, and I'm not going to show you the video of me getting hit by a trash can lid when it landed, but that was kind of funny to everybody else. But the thing that was amazing to me was that about 100 to 150 people stayed after the event to watch it take off. We were cleared, everything was cleared up and gone, and they just hung out and waited to see it go off. So that was fun. That was brought to us by the National Guard as a recruiting tool for them. Questions about Community Block Party? We're just going to continue to grow that puppy. That was also another one that was a little affected by the weather. If you remember, there were fires right before then. We weren't sure up until a couple days before whether or not we were going to produce this. And I'm sure it's all weather-related issues happened last year as Snowmageddon and all of this, and no more for 2018. So, but it cleared up, if you remember, and the skies were pretty, well, they're a little foggy. We had some dancers who didn't want to go on, but I couldn't blame them. But we had a pretty strong presence there. So we have a great time. Okay. MIAC and the Teen Activities Committee. So I am one of the advisors for MIAC. I will say it is both a challenge and the most rewarding thing I do in working with these kids. I come in every year, and Colin's probably heard me more than once go, "Hey, yay, yay!" And by the end of the year, I am just so proud of them. I watch them grow and change, and we work with them, and it's just it's really rewarding to me. So you'll see these three are the Ignite Youth Speech Competition winners. These are all of the events that we produce with them, so they keep me rocking while they're supposed to be doing most of the work, and on a good year they are. Trunk or Treat is probably the only one that that I really take the lead on. So speaking of Trunk or Treat, we moved it last year. There was an enormous amount of people that were here in the City Hall parking lot. I believe Trunk or Treat was started as a way to reach out to local businesses, to give them the opportunity to hand out marketing materials in a family-friendly way. And now we've got more kids than we know what to do with. I am constantly amazed at the number of kids and families that come out.
I don't even know what to say, except it was almost, well, not even almost, it was too big. It was this perfect storm of perfect weather, out of school the next day. There were so many factors that aligned to create this perfect storm of everybody wanting to come out. I mean, it had to have been 4 times more than we've ever had.
And it never ceases to amaze me how long people will wait in line for, a couple of pieces of candy. But the costumes are amazing. People spend a lot of time decorating their trunks and themselves, and it's really, really a lot of fun. So we moved it from City Hall into the downtown core with a couple goals in mind, to create kind of a better flow, to provide more space for more trunks, and to increase the vitality of the actual downtown core to get people seeing some of those things. We need more trunks. Is really the only comment that I have on this event, is just we need more trunks. It is free to participate if you're a business. Of course, there's the investment of the candy and there's the investment of the trunk. So this year we are working with Oriental Trading. They have some really easy things you can put on the back of your trunk. So we've got a little ad there. They gave us some money for some decorations. So it's a really easy trade. Hopefully it'll encourage some more people. And I think we're looking at something like that for candy as well, so that we can service all the kids that come. So if you haven't been, it's really a sight to see.
Madam President, before you leave that.
What's that?
This year, are we going to be doing the same flow, the same location?
Yes.
Okay, I really struggled with the flow last year with the 3 entrances. We all ended up in the middle and we couldn't cross. I think we talked about it a little bit after that event, but
Yeah.
it was understanding that it's MIAC's event.
It is MIAC's event, technically. It is something that happens really close to the beginning of their year, and it requires an awful lot of tracking and planning and layout because it does require TUPs, street closures with ACHD. So there's a lot that I take the lead on. But it is a MIAC event, and that's why it's listed under MIAC.
Yeah, but that would be my only suggestion, is that the flow where we all ended up in the middle and then you couldn't cross because someone thought you were cutting into their line after you waited 45 minutes just to get into your line. I felt like that was not the funnest of times because it had so many people. But it was a great event, and I don't think anybody was prepared for the turnout that came. So for that sense, I mean, there were a lot of great booths. I didn't feel like there was a lack of booths at all. And the costumes and the people who had those booths decorated them great. The music, the center little stage entertainment was awesome. The only critique I had was that I struggled with the 3 entrances, and therefore it limited you to one line, basically.
There were lines that didn't really move because of the were either really slow moving, or if you were in the back, it really felt like it didn't move at all. And that would be very frustrating. We didn't require people to stand in the lines, but when you get to a place where there is a line and it's kind of naturally formed, your tendency is to walk up and get in the line because you don't want to cut. So, yeah, that was the tough part. There was just so many people.
And there was like some introduction at the beginning that gave some misinformation about which way the flow of the lines was supposed to go right before they opened. And then we found out later from the other lines that wasn't, their instructions. So I think people were trying to be helpful and say, hey, this line's going to flow clockwise. You'll go around the whole event. But that's not actually how it was designed to work, apparently. So that's all. I'm not trying to. I love the event.
No,
I it was great.
I appreciate the feedback, and yes, it was.
I just struggled with.
I struggled with it too. I understand. Yeah, it's. Yeah,
so
there was probably 3 times as many people there as are usually there, and you are absolutely right that the multiple lines was meant to relieve that fact of people waiting in line, that they could jump in and start moving quicker, and instead it created that log jam where two lines merged, and instead of it being a merging, going back and forth, it just, I understand. So we'll work on that. And if you're interested on coming and working with me, I'd love your feedback. Okay?
Sounds like a committee.
Madam President?
Other comments, questions?
So due to kind of these issues with flow, and there's always more people than you expect, have you considered putting it in the parking lot of a park so that people have kind of some space to go away from the crowd, but then they're still in the parking lot? Or have you ever considered other options other than downtown Meridian?
Yes, and that's certainly still some options. Yeah, as Steve said, we didn't expect the attendance like that last year. If it's cold outside, if there's school the next day because it's on a Thursday, that may reduce it and get it back to manageable levels. If it doesn't, then there's probably something that we need to do a little differently. The real struggle is that there's more kids there than there are booths. There's more kids than there's candy, more kids than, so it's, I think if we can increase the number of booths, that might help a little bit. Mm-hmm. Certainly moving it might, that's why we moved out of City Hall, and I didn't expect it to completely overwhelm downtown all in 1 year.
Madam President, I have one more ideas, was just that I know a lot of people went to the Boise trunk or treat and to the Meridians because they live with close proximity to both, and it's an extra chance to get their kids' costumes worn again and get free candy. So it just might be an idea if we did it on the same night so that the Boise residents would be more inclined to go to Boise and Meridian's more Meridian. It might break up that flow because I feel like I know quite a few people who went to both.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I think it's great. They want to be involved in the community. But if we're really struggling with flow, maybe doing the same night wouldn't be the worst idea. It would, just a thought though.
Yeah.
Do you
That
have
might help
do you have a
alleviate it.
date set yet?
What's that?
Do you have a date set yet?
We do. I set all the dates for our events in January the year before. So it's a lot of these are on traditional dates. So it's the 25th of October. It's the Thursday before Halloween. It doesn't mean I don't know how that date got set. So I'd have to talk to Steve and Colin and see if there's a reason for that and see if it has the opportunity to move for dates. But yeah, no, it's a good suggestion. I appreciate it. Okay. I'm almost done, guys. I'm the director of fun here, or I work for the director of fun. I'm the coordinator of fun. Okay, so Christmas in Meridian. Yay! I'm probably one of the few people who thinks about and talks about Christmas in January. Along with Joe, and I really appreciate Joe and all that she does for Christmas in Meridian. I get groans at work when I bring Christmas up, but it does take some serious planning, and we are continuing to grow the events, always trained with an eye on making them better. One of my current goals is to fill all of the sponsorship positions, and we have added a few of those, including trying to get some funding for our Letters to Santa project, which is wildly successful. The picture on the left is also our market. So our market, we added a bunch of hours. Let me start from the beginning. The market started as a project of Shelley's because she knew some people who sold things, and she sold some things. And it has taken off and is wildly successful. We added some hours to it and brought some more vendors. We found out that there's a challenge with our elevator and using it too much. So we are looking into what we need to do with City Hall, and maybe we have to use some spaces a little differently and not be putting it on multiple floors. I will say that we're also looking at different locations. So we would love to be able to move it into a space. So it is something that we are noodling, if you'll forgive the expression, to figure out exactly what we do with it. It is not a moneymaker. It is really just a community service, and it is something that is supported because of the vendors that we bring are all handmade vendors, and it's a community shopping experience. On the other end of that, the Christmas parade and tree lighting. We had another wildly successful year, and I don't see huge changes to that this year. We will be enhancing our stage entertainment. We want to make sure that people stay from the time Santa passes the stage and finishes the parade, because of course right after that is the tree lighting, and so we'll be adding some entertainment to make sure that that has some real meat to it and some reason to stay other than just the tree lighting. And the Children's Winterland Festival, we are continuing to just add to that as well. I have a vision of it being like a wonderland when you walk into it. Of course, we are using the Boys and Girls Club and have a short window of moving in and out, but that's an activity-driven event where a variety of businesses come and offer their activities for free in exchange also for some marketing. I could talk forever about Christmas, but maybe I should put myself on the agenda for another time since I've already probably gone over my time limit. And I said I was short, didn't I? Okay.
I'm not even playing time clock today.
Okay. Questions, comments about Christmas?
I should mention that being part of Christmas in Meridian, that there's a committee that invited Jessica to the first meeting, which maybe wasn't the best one because there was a lot of discussion about things that weren't as forward-moving. They were more pertaining to downtown decorating and the downtown. Is that business association?
The lights for downtown.
Yeah, but there's always room on the committee for people to help.
There's definitely room on the committee. It's a big event. There's a lot to do, and so the more hands that are involved. So if you want to take a little part in it, or if you know someone who does, we'd love to have you come and participate.
So
we promise not to overwork you.
But we might ask for sponsorships because that's what we're always looking for, right? Money.
Yes. Okay.
President?
Sorry for droning on and on. I did warn you that I was going to get into the weeds on this one.
Okay, we're still.
Renee, I have a quick question for
Yes.
you. I know I'm going to hit you with the hard questions because I know you. I know that around January or probably January through March is kind of the low season for your events. You don't have very many special events during that time. But that's kind of like the winter blues time for a lot of people. I think that's when people really need that feeling of community and belonging. So have you talked about finding creative ways to have more special events during that time, during kind of that awkward time of the year?
I haven't thought of adding any particular events other than there's been some discussion about a daddy-daughter dance or something around Valentine's Day. It seems to be pretty popular, and that's just office chatter. The reality is I am very busy. While there aren't events, I am extremely busy. There's a whole lot of behind-the-scenes things that have to take place for these events to happen, and I'm thankful that you think I make it look easy and that there's a lot of downtime, but there really, at this point, isn't a lot of downtime. So I haven't, and of course, MIAC keeps me busy during those times when there's not a lot of actual events through Parks and Rec. So,
Madam President, for a follow-up question. That leads me into my next question, that I know you're very busy and these events take a lot of planning. So I think I've asked Colin this before. How far down the road do you think it will be until we need another special events coordinator to have more of a bandwidth for more events?
Well, if we want to add more events, I would say we need to change the structure, and that's a question for Steve. Yeah. And all of you, if you want to add, then yeah, you have to add the support to do it. So I've had positions where I've done the planning and had staff that executed it. I'd show up and do that, but it's really a question for Steve.
And there's only one Renee.
Yeah,
it's true.
Madam President?
Yes.
I would just, to that point, it's something we have thought about, and we do have in our, what's it called now, a CFP, our comprehensive financial plan for the next 10 years, to have a special events specialist position. Obviously, it's just something that we've put in there and saw as a need, but we envision it as a full-time position that works jointly with Renee to execute events, and also with currently me, but down the line, whoever it is that manages external special events, so other people's special events, because we also have a need right now for somebody to attend all of the events that we're permitting, and take sound measurements and make sure that all of the events that we are permitting are following through with the conditions that we are placing on them. Because as much as I love attending events, I can't get to all of them, and I do go out of town on weekends, and there's essentially something every weekend during the summer. And so we've identified that as a need, somebody that, and I can't remember what year that person is in, but we do have that in the comprehensive financial plan for, 6 or 7 years down the road. Yeah. Maybe not that far. I don't remember what year it is specifically.
That's good news.
6 days would be good.
6 or 7 years.
Thank you, Colin.
So, and I'll just end on this. If you don't know Jovi, that is Sarah Moss. So she helps us with the parade. And she will be doing some presentations on our stage next year to help. She'll be singing something from Elf. So she's delightful and does an amazing job, and we're lucky to have her.
She's very entertaining.
Okay.
And she puts up with Colin. Just kidding. Sorry.
All right. Thank you for letting me drone on about my special events. They're fun, and I appreciate all of your support.
Madam President.
Yes.
It's me over here. I just wanted to say, on behalf of City Council, you do a phenomenal job. I mean, remarkable job. And Colin, when you had this position, you did a phenomenal job as well. I mean, there's so much time, and people don't realize how much dedication it takes, and the right type of positive attitude one needs to be successful at this position, and you exemplified that 100%. With that said, I really like the daddy-daughter idea.
He jumped out of his
Well,
chair when he
from
said
a
that.
father of 2 daughters, phenomenal idea. We don't necessarily have to do it in the summertime. Wintertime could be perfect. But
Help me think of something for mothers and sons, and then we'll talk.
I
I have a heart for moms
Exactly.
and sons. So
Absolutely. I'm
with
we
you.
can't, in my mind, we can't do one without the other. But that's my bias speaking up.
Great discussion to have. I think we should talk about it because I think that would be such a phenomenal family bonding experience between like a daughter-son situation.
Like a
Phenomenal
Sadie
idea.
Hawkins.
Madam Mayor, I'll just throw out there, we're going to have a workshop next on, gaps in programming and prioritizing things. And Renee didn't mention it, but in her what she told me and what you'll see on my presentation, she did propose a daddy-daughter date night and a mother-son fort building night.
Oh, yeah.
I have no idea where she came up with
As
that
long as
idea,
we get
but
to
I thought
build
it was
fires.
awesome.
Right? That is a good idea.
Madam President?
Yes.
I have the CFP in front of me. I was just looking it up. We do have in there right now a seasonal special event specialist part-time penciled in 2021. So 3 fiscal years out from now. We'd love to have it sooner. The reality is we'd like to have everything in here sooner.
Right.
But it's just a matter of balancing finances and needs and priorities. So,
Having the funding.
but until we get it, I do think that we need to protect Renee's bandwidth a little bit and
Sure.
not just force more on her because we want more in our growing. We're just going to have to protect that and say we know we want to grow, and when we think it's time, we need that to come with some additional resources.
I think also that's an opportunity for volunteering, right? For committees and different
Yeah.
things so that, because you are a gem to the city, you greatly enhance everything that, all of the special events. And so having help from other people, I think it's monumental.
Well, and that's a great point. If there's a partner out there that wanted to help produce the event with our support, we can
There you go.
totally do that. So, there you go.
I think Chad could probably head that up.
Couldn't leave without pointing out the Grinch.
Oh, well.
That would be my daughter.
Aw.
Isn't she delightful? And she did this, days before her wedding for us? She was worried that her makeup was going to cause blemishes, and she did it anyway. So
Aw.
we love her.
That was sweet.
Okay, I'm leaving. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you. You get claps. Okay. Yes, thank you. So, under workshop, we have citywide strategic plan with Colin.
So I'm going to hand out these really quickly for you to have as we go through this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Justin. Hello again, Madam President, members of the commission. So, what we have, our citywide strategic plan. That we have a few items. It's an extremely big plan, extremely big document that we have just a few items that we are working towards in the Parks and Recreation Department. One of those strategic plan items is Objective 5B4, which states that we are going to set targets, identify gaps, and deploy programs, activities, and events that provide family-centered recreational opportunities. So this is something that we kind of do all the time anyway, but the point of the strategic plan is to kind of get a formal process in place to, do a little bit more than just, we think about all the time how we might want to add programs, but we might not know exactly where we should be, focusing our efforts. And so that's kind of the point of the strategic plan here or of this particular objective, for us to take a step back, look at our programs on the whole, and then identify, where we might want to focus efforts in the future. So I'm going to go through some of the tactics that we've already been through, and the tactics are underneath each of the objectives that lead us towards completing that objective. So tactic number 1 is simply to review the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. So we produced this Parks and Recreation Master Plan 3 years ago or so. And as part of the master plan, it came with a series of recommendations for our community. And so several of them included recommendations for programming. And so that was the first thing that we did as a recreation staff. And so I should say that I was a part of this, but then really the recreation coordinators did the majority of the work. I kind of led the team, and they're the ones that program those activities. And so they were the ones that really drove the bus in identifying all of these things. So we reviewed the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. That one is done. Next, we did an inventory of all of our programs, and that's what you're looking at, what I handed out here. This is an inventory matrix of all of our programs. And we went through a couple different iterations of this matrix. You can see that across the top, it's broken up into age groups. Across the side, it's broken up into types of classes. We had, maybe 6 or 7 when we first started. We've added and gotten to 10 different kinds of programs. And then when we first started, we tried putting all of our programs into each category that we thought they fit, because there's a bunch of these that fit into more than one category. Some of them, 3, 4, 5 different categories you could make the case for. And so that document got really big, really fast. And so we felt like the best way to identify our gaps is to really look at each program and identify the core, purpose of that activity and put it in just one category. Some of them were really tough. And so I would certainly be open to anybody's thoughts about if you think something doesn't belong where it is. But that's was tactic number 2, is getting all these inventory together. So that's done. Tactic number 3 was to identify gaps in our level of service between the inventory and our master plan results. And so after this slide, we'll talk about some of those gaps that we've identified, and then what we're hoping for so we've finished identifying gaps, and then after we identified gaps, then the intent was to go out and research. How are we going to fill those gaps? And so we've all obviously got our own ideas, but then we looked around to other communities. Daddy-daughter date night probably came out of that. Nampa runs an extremely successful daddy-daughter date night. And so there's lots of other communities that do a lot of really great things. So we looked at some of the other communities around us to what they do. And tactic number 5 is why we're here tonight, because Parks and Recreation Commission and City Council, we wanted some help in making sure that we are going in the right direction based on what the community feels like are the top priorities. So, with that being said, I'm hoping that you definitely have a chance to look through this, because I'm going to tell you on the next slide what we identified as some of the big ticket takeaways from the matrix that we made. But if there's anybody that wants to add anything to that, we definitely want that to be a part of the discussion tonight as well. So, inventory matrix here. You all have that in front of you. So, our takeaways, in no particular order here. So, adaptive recreation is one that we have no programs that are specifically for adaptive recreation. You see that in the matrix I put that we do offer accommodations in our current programs, and so we've offered sign language interpreters before, and so if there's a specific accommodation that needs to be made in one of our current programs, we will do that. We just have no specific programs that are designed for people with disabilities. And so, Boise, our next door neighbor, has an extremely large and successful adaptive recreation program called Adventure. And they have lots of different things that they do, and they have lots of different, lots of equipment. This is one that would, at the minimum, require a full-time staff person to oversee. But, adaptive recreation, there's a lot of opportunities for this at home court, like wheelchair basketball. Goal ball is something that Tyler came up with as something that other organizations do. It's a game that I've never seen played before, but it's something for the sight impaired. Adaptive outdoor trips, and that can be, that could be a variety of different things. And then adaptive cycling is a big part of what Boise does as well. The next one, skill development. So you'll see on the matrix we actually have quite a bit of skill development items, but it's almost entirely dance related. There's a few others in there, martial arts, but for the most part it's dance. And so I think we had identified that it would really be nice to diversify our skill development options. And so this is another item where it was really difficult to put some of these into categories, because you could make a really strong case that our golf lessons, that our tennis lessons, that our lacrosse lessons are skill development as well, but those are in the sports category for now, and so feel free to make the case otherwise. But outside of sports and dance, there's a lot of other opportunities out there for people. Writing is another one that I didn't put on there, but photography, cooking, gardening, all really great opportunities that we have offered off and on over the course of the years, and have never gotten, just a steady instructors that are willing to offer that. So those would be great ones to kind of diversify our offerings for skill development. Social, we were just talking about the teen center potential. We were talking about the daddy-daughter date night and the mother-son fort building. Nampa and Boise also have mobile rec vans, which is an interesting, kind of a new thing in recreation, where you don't require the kids to come to you, because oftentimes they don't have the ability to get to you. And so they have a mobile recreation van. Like, I was looking at Boise's schedule earlier this week, and they will go to apartment complexes, and they'll go to parks, and they'll just go all over where they think there's going to be a lot of kids that might not have the opportunity to come to a rec center or come to wherever their program might be taking place. And so that's another kind of trend in recreation that's more on the social side. So environmental and educational classes and day trips. So this one I kind of combined education and environmental. So we put environmental into our matrix because we have kind of a mirroring strategic plan objective with the Public Works Department. So one of their objectives is to improve the education and outreach for environmental programs, or just environmental education out to the community. And so one of the tactics within that objective is to work with the Parks and Recreation Department to offer programs through the activity guide. So we've been meeting with the Public Works Department. They are working towards having some classes available this fall in the activity guide. We did start this summer with, or this fall, in the fall activity guide, our arborist, Elroy Huff, hosted some tree education workshops, which were very well attended. So that one would probably be the first one that I would consider as a environmental program. We have had recycling things in the past, redworm composting in the past. Those ones were run by the Public Works Department, and Republic Services kind of co-hosted them, and they were very successful. But the person in Public Works who really spearheaded them, her name is Molly. She is not there anymore, and it just kind of dropped off after Molly left. And so we're really hoping to pick some of those classes back up, and Public Works is planning to I'm not sure how much they will do themselves, but they're planning on working with some community partners to host some classes and start in the fall activity guide. So partnering with the Public Works Department is a big one, and then there's a lot of opportunities for day trips to the wastewater treatment plant that has a nice, new facility. They have a really great education center there at their front area. And then there's just lots of other places around town, the Boise Watershed, Birds of Prey, even if just general education type stuff. Another one that Jake suggested in this category was a Boise Airport tour, or a tour of some other facility that is just kind of interesting, that people like to know about how it works. And so there's a lot of opportunities in that area. And then the last one is outdoor recreation. So outdoor recreation is the last column in here. We've had our outdoor adventure camps for many years. We used to have some hiking trips up at Bogus Basin. We used to have some snowshoeing trips up at Bogus Basin. We haven't had those in quite a while. And then we have a senior rafting trip, and that's about it. And as you all know, there is a lot of opportunity for outdoor recreation in this area. We feel that having somebody dedicated to outdoor recreation who has some certifications and knows about plants and wildlife and can lead hiking trips and provide some fun information for adults and youth. They would be, we'd have somebody who could both plan trips and then lead them throughout the year. So that's another thing that there's an endless amount of potential opportunities for outdoor recreation. So what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to go ahead and write up these 5 that I've got kind of on my... So we're going to just make this into a little bit of a workshop. Got everybody's name up there. And so we want some help prioritizing the areas that you guys feel are the most important. And so I'm going to start by writing up the 5 areas that we've identified out of this matrix. And then during that time, I'll give you, you can review this and think about maybe ones that you want to add.
Madam President. Colin, right before we do this, maybe a little bit of context on what you utilized to get to these takeaways. The things that didn't make this list, why didn't they make the list? And why wouldn't they be a priority to continue to target? Because you're very comfortable that you're in a good place with the others?
Sure. I don't know that we're comfortable, 100% comfortable anywhere. I think these would be, coming from our department, maybe some of the top priorities. Renee had a fantastic list of opportunities of things that we could potentially do in the special event arena. We've got some great special events already in the community, and so there are some ideas in here to be able to do some new special events.
Okay. It just appeared to me from your matrix that it's the ones that don't have very many programs listed in them. And if you're looking for quantity, I get it.
Mm-hmm. Not always, though. And one of the things that to keep in mind is, we don't necessarily always belong in every category. There are, you'll notice like the social part of it, or the education column has nothing for adults and seniors.
Mm-hmm.
Most of these environmental and education classes, like the Boise Watershed, the treatment plan, it's most likely that those are going to be senior education classes. There's probably not going to be adult classes. There are a lot of other providers in the community, between the library and Idaho State University and other ways that you can go out and learn about something that you need to learn. And so as you look through these, there's definitely some ones that are a little slim, but there's ones that are slim that it's okay. That's slim. And so it's definitely good to think about maybe it's a gap that in our programming, but it might not necessarily be a community gap. So I think that's what we would be interested in, is what you think are community gaps that we should be filling.
Madam President and Mike, I would just say that I think this list is just kind of an initial takeaway from us as staff, and that's why we're here, to say, what do you see? I mean, you guys have ears on the ground and in the community, and if you know of a demand that's not being met, that's what we're here to talk about. Just because there's a gap doesn't mean we necessarily have to fill it, but this is meant to look at where are the gaps, where are there fewer opportunities currently in our programming that we don't offer.
Thanks, Steve. I just wanted to hear a little more context on how you got to what you're asking all these folks to.
Sure.
And just to clarify, the Wastewater Treatment Plant's Interpretive Center is created for teens and high school students, not for adults. They didn't want to compete with the Boise Watershed, which is for elementary students. Just some context there.
Okay. So
you want us to rank these 4 or 5 ones in what we think is the order they should be in?
Yeah, so what we'll be looking for, so the first thing I'd like to do is I'd like to just open it up and ask if you think anything else belongs on there. These were the 5 that we kind of identified as the top priorities, but that was us, working in our own little world up there in the Parks and Rec Department. So
I also think it's important to point out that it's also, we need to be careful that we're not saying that these are not necessarily more important than the ones that we already do well. Yeah. We're just trying to prioritize the gaps. Like if we were trying to fill a gap, what would you go after next? That's kind of the question we're trying to ask. And not, are these more important than, say, the dance skill development that we already do really well?
And I spent a lot of time trying to think about the best way to do this, because as the coordinators all came back with kind of recommendations, there are a ton of short-term ideas that we can do within the next couple months, in the next activity guide. There's also a lot of long-term ideas, and so we can it's going to be difficult to set priorities, because even if you set something as a number 1 priority, it may not even be possible for another 5 years. Mm-hmm. And that's okay. We're going to go after the things on the priority list. If number 5 presents itself as an opportunity right away, we're gonna go after it. What we're looking for is just where should we be putting focusing our energy more, especially for the long-term stuff. We want to know where you think the priorities are.
And
so,
Madam President and Colin, commissioners, I'd also say that I see this tool and exercise that Colin's about to do more about the conversation that it will engender than about the numeric results that might come out of it. Yeah. I don't think that it's really necessarily about some kind of rigid matrix process that we will then say is it. I think the value of this is just we're trying to come up with a way that in a limited amount of time, we can have a valuable conversation and get some of your ideas out on the table. So at the end of the day, it's really about the conversation and hearing from you about what some of the priorities and gaps are out there that you see.
And then one more thing that I will also add is, as you're thinking about this, you'll probably notice that I left it to the categories as opposed to specifying category and age. But I'm very interested if you have any thoughts specifically about, I know that, Steve and I have had conversations about, the social part of it. Social teen programming is maybe the most important teen, or the most important social, on the age range category. We'd probably really like to focus on teen social programming more so than the other groups. But if you have any thoughts about being more specific with age groups, we're open to that as well.
Madam President?
Yes.
I was just about to say that in addition to the areas is, you know, the other column is age groups, and that in complete self-interest, I have a 13-year-old son that I do not know what to do with because he's too old to need a babysitter, to go to a program where they take care of him, but he's too young to have a job, right? He's at that age, and he's really smart, and he likes to learn, but, you know, and there's a lot of programs. There's stuff at Boise State and the libraries, and, you know, there are things, but yeah, that's what when I'm looking at this going, I'm concerned about this column more than the rows. Anything, any of those that he could go to would be great.
Right.
Yeah. Right. And so, yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, is because it's like that's the other complicating factor is
Along with that, though, Colin, I mean, there for the teens, I think the social is huge because there is nothing really for them to do outside of really the sports things.
Movie night.
You know, well, with all their energy, you know, they're getting kicked out of it.
They hang out.
Yeah.
That's what they do.
You know, so to find something blacklight dodgeball or laser tag or stuff where you could get a group together and just have some fun and play would be huge. You know, and a lot of them don't like the dances or anything like that. But you get some sponsors. I mean, I went to a graduation party for a college kid, and they were all running around with these laser tag guns playing laser tag with each other. You know, so if you could get that and set it up in Kleiner Park where you get the hills and some trees to hide behind, it would be huge. You know, and I'm sure you could probably get sponsors to jump on board with something like that. But that social area to me, I think with the teens is huge.
So, Colin, I'm hearing enough support to just put a teen social
That's what I was just
programming
gonna say.
item up there and just let it be one of the categories.
Madam President.
Yes.
So, Colin, I think it's not just a teen social, though, but I think it's teen programming in particular, because social is one aspect, but there's also teen skill building and adventure and outdoor, getting them outside away from the, you know, the phone and the screen and the everything that, you know, the game they want to be on.
Yeah.
Just put up teen programming.
You could
I
tackle
would
this
just put
and
teen programming.
exactly what you could tackle it by prioritizing this way, and then you prioritize this way, and then you prioritize that way. So you could get to what we're talking about. You prioritize the board he has up there, and then you prioritize the age or the diversity range that you've identified as well when you flush your numbers out too. So
Yeah, because if you look at the age ranges
Yeah.
you have, you're completely right. And when you're looking at preschool and elementary, there is so much programming out there that as a parent of a young child, I can find things to do all the time. But I'm like you, when she gets to the age of a teen, I don't see a whole lot out there. So that is an area that would be an amazing focus for Meridian to be able to provide this outlet for families to provide for their teens that gives them things to do that are, you know, active.
Instead of being groups of locusts at your home eating all your food and
Exactly.
playing all the video games and using all your data.
So maybe what I'm hearing,
Not from experience.
and because I was trying to, I think this will work. Would you like to do? I mean, I can make another one just really quickly. We can do one, and then we can do another one with the age groups that you prioritize separately, or no? Okay.
I think adding
my suggestion is to run through exactly what you're doing right here, and then we'll have a quick discussion about how that filters out, and then we can go into another. If the group feels compelled to focus on teen after we do some of this, I think that's
okay.
I think having
I wouldn't change what you're trying to do.
enough, yeah. Because that would be the gap in my mind. So.
Yeah. Okay. With that being said, then, are there any other focus areas that anybody would like to have up here to rank with the group?
Yes, so Madam President, so I think I'm wholeheartedly supportive of the team, but an additional one, though, that I'd like us to keep in mind is the early learning readiness for children under the age of 5. So I know it says preschool fun and learn to read, but there's, you know, we don't have public preschool, and there's a lot of families, and early learning readiness is really about young children, but the parents learning how to basically teach their children how to learn in fun ways. It's kind of the idea, but basically it helps parents socialize children that are really young, under the age of 5, that are too young to do preschool, well, like 3 and under included. It's basically from 0 to 5 years old is the idea, but it's about preparing them for social interactions and learning, but it helps the parents and the children learn together, if that makes sense. I feel like we have one preschool class that's offered 45 minutes on a certain day each week, and the parents come in and the children play, and it's over. It's not really engaging the parents and helping the children learn, per se. I like it, though. I think it's a great class, but I'm just saying I think there's a huge gap with classes that involve multiple parents, also with multiple children, but with the extremely young kids, getting them out, helping them socialize and learn things before they're able to go to a preschool or to an elementary school.
So early literacy programming.
Right.
That sounds like something we could probably partner with the library on. I know they have a real focus on that. So
YMCA tried to do something and partnered with a couple different agencies and had some state grants.
So what should we
but
put up here?
They were time sensitive, so.
Early childhood literacy, is that what you'd like to see up there?
Yeah, but early childhood learning, or early learning readiness is what they called their program. But it's a great program. I know they tried it out. There was a grant to try to see if different communities were interested in it, and they tried those grants out, and I think there were 12 spots opening, and they had 75 plus kids on a waiting list.
Is it called learning readiness or reading
Early
readiness?
learning readiness, because it's not actually learning to read. But I like the great idea because we don't have a public preschool here. So we do have families with young kids that you either, you work and your kids go to daycare, preschool combo, or you stay home with them. And this offers the ones that at least stay home, but also the ones that work, an opportunity to meet with other moms and have help and guidance on teaching their children, early learning skills and socializing them. So anyhow, I thought it was a great program. I hope that our city takes it on someday. So
Great, thank you.
That's a good point.
Anything else?
Madam
Okay.
President, I can just go back to tweens, but thank you, Jessica, for those comments. I agree with Keith that 13-year-old age is a very awkward age, and there's no programming for it even in the public sector, or we are in the public sector, even in the private sector, they haven't really filled that gap. And I just wanted to throw this out there that I talked to Robert in the mayor's office about this because I was really interested. I was like, have you talked about having a mayor's youth council for middle school ages? Because we have like some programming for teens in high school that I've worked with, but they've talked about Meridian, they've talked about middle school programming, and they've talked about the possibility of hiring somebody to focus on middle school programming in the mayor's office, but it doesn't seem like there's very much momentum there, so that might be an interesting partnership if we wanted to have Parks and Rec programs and maybe see if the mayor's office is going to do a youth council for middle school age, but it's definitely a problem, and there's just nothing out there, so that would be my first priority.
Okay, is that a separate category, you think? Is that teen, well, I think teen and, we have teen and tween in the same.
My priority is tween, because I feel like we have a lot of teen options out there. Also, the high schools offer a lot of clubs and sports, but the middle schools don't offer very many activities. So my priority would be tween.
Okay, would you like that to be a separate?
Don't
So
care.
right now, we have tween and teen in the same age group, and so.
So maybe
it
it
would
would
fall under,
You just change just make a new age group?
like
Instead of
have this
combining
same,
tween and teen, just
like have this same programs but offer them to both. Is that what you mean, or
I don't.
basically like
Just
parallel?
Split it. Activity social for tween, activity social for
Okay.
teen.
Middle school, high school?
Yeah. Because you're right. Because there isn't anything for middle school, the kids are not engaging, so they're not interested a lot of times when they get to the teenage years.
List is growing.
I know. I knew that there would be some suggestions, but I'm running out of space.
Okay.
So,
It's harder to prioritize.
yeah, so we've got,
Kind of like Mike's suggestion of identifying separating the categories and then going into ages where you see the need, like what you guys are saying, because it makes it harder.
when you're mixing them.
But actually, though, if you
Or
look
maybe
at
it doesn't.
at Colin's chart, you get some that, like, you look at social, and you look at the boxes, and you've got 3 empty boxes across there. That shows a big lack of anything social in a lot of different groups, be it tween, teen, adult, or preschool. So to me, social's got to be right up there at the top. And then, you know, you just look at the empty boxes, and I think it really kind of points to some of the things that we're talking about. And we can narrow it down, but when you start looking at it, I think it just kind of jumps out of the page.
And again, you know, I was thinking earlier today as I was really looking over this matrix that it'd be interesting to see how different the matrix would be. Not that if you put every activity in every box that it fit in, but because there's so many of them that really, you know, it's really difficult to pick between maybe 2 of them to put all the activities in the top 2 that they fit in the best. Because like my act right now is in skill development because it is based in leadership development for teenagers. But I mean, social is a huge part of it as well. And so it could really easily be in that category also. So I just want to, you know, remind everybody that just because a box is empty or low, I mean, you could really find some other opportunities that fit there.
But part of it is we're a community, and I mean, MIAC's a really small group when you look at how large Meridian is. So how do you get that social, you know, and the high schools do some clubs and stuff, but you still have a huge amount of people that aren't in clubs. They're wanting to do something on a Friday or Saturday night, and there is nothing for them to do other than be locusts and eat a bunch of mom and dad's food and
ramen noodles.
Yeah, you know, so I think that's kind of what, as the community, what do we focus on? You know, how do we get a larger group of kids out having some fun together in a safe, environment, and again, place where mom and dad doesn't have to worry also.
Like a LAN party.
A what?
A LAN party, like gaming parties.
Oh, yeah. So,
prioritize.
being that I'm out of room on the chart, at this point, I think if you want to just take a couple of minutes and score them from 1 to 8. There's 8 on there, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
Either that or we can score the 5 alone and then add some other age groups.
Yeah, I think just stick with the 5.
I would like to do the 8, actually.
Would you? So what are the other 3? We've got early childhood.
So we've got social, teen, early learning, and then tween programming.
So yeah, can everybody see that?
Can't see it. What are those categories?
So there's adaptive, skill development, social, and again, here, let me go back here. So these are the ones that we identified, the 5 boxes. Social, and so that would be social, outside of teen and tween. Environmental education, outdoor recreation, social teen programming, tween programming, and early learning readiness would be our 8 categories. And then, once we get, the top 5 probably on the list, once we get them scored and everything, I like the idea of maybe we don't, score each age group, but maybe we just discuss which age group is the highest priority within that category.
I numbered mine 1 through 8.
Yell at me when you're ready to write some numbers down.
We're going 1 through 8, right?
1 through 8.
Okay.
You ready, Craig?
And so do you want to just start at your top of yours?
Yeah.
And so what number I would give adaptive?
Yep.
I add 2 to that, so number 5. What's the next one? Skill development. That's the number 8.
Social.
Number 1. Well, 3 on that one.
And just to clarify, 1 is your top priority, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
Right. So real quick, while you're down with the other 2, the tween and the teen, put those as 1 and 2.
Which one which?
Teen 1, tween 2.
Okay.
And then so I'm looking for 4, 5, right?
4, 6, 7.
4. It's outdoor. Outdoors is number 4. Outdoors number 4. And what's that one? The
You need
environmental.
6 and 7.
6.
So that means this is
have mine.
You can just go 1 to 8.
I have the list, like I have them in order. Okay, 6, 7, 4, 5, 8, 1, 2, and 3.
Not quite yet.
Use this one.
Yeah, I can give you mine, Colin.
Back in the left-hand.
Adaptive 4, skill development 5, social 3, environmental 2, outdoor 1, teen is a 6, early learning is a 8, and tween is a 7.
Ready?
4, 7, 3, 5, 6, 2, 8, 1.
Ready, Jessica?
Yep, 4, 8, 7, 6, 5, 1, 2, oh.
4, 8, 7.
6, 5, 1, 2, 3.
Almost.
Okay, I'm ready. 3, 7, 8, 6, 5, 2, 4, 1.
6, 8, 4, 5, 1, 2, 7, 3.
Let me make sure I have all mine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 4, 7, 3, 5, 6, 2, 8, 1.
Did you just copy mine?
I don't think so.
He was looking at your list. Don't call him out on it.
Well, we have good priorities. It was hard because I already had my list prioritized. Then I had to change it when you guys added 3, so I was really confused. I thought I was prepared. Then I was all
Actually, your
screwed up.
spreadsheet works better. Colin would agree with that too. Yeah.
Craig.
40.
Was yours 8, 6, 7, 5?
Exactly.
Pull off their calculator. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 11, 17.
At first I started looking, it's like, he's giving me the stupid phone number off the song. Just start throwing numbers out there, Colin will. So when he starts adding, it's 8, 8, 16, 38, 1, 160.
27.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, Colin.
Teens need, because I'm a very big supporter of the Girls Club.
Have a
We could really mess
We're
with.
gonna have an 8-way tie.
And that's why
I think,
work them a lot.
Okay. So we got 1. Let's see. 2.
He's doing good math. I've checked him a couple times.
Yeah.
I can't believe
Social.
3.
It's a different view up here.
I should have looked at it.
And then you have a tie for
36
adaptive.
ties.
4, 4. So it's 6. 6. 7.
Just trying not to duplicate numbers.
Enough skill development.
Number 1 is
Teen
social
programming.
programming.
Teen programming and tween programming, 1 and 2. So those obviously don't need much more discussion probably as far as narrowing down the
Age
focus.
groups.
Social.
3 is social other. Any thoughts as to preschool, elementary, adult, senior focus on the rest of the social?
I
Looks
think
like
it-
social in general,
Right.
generally speaking, is pretty high priority for everybody.
Trying to get to. Because if your children are not socialized before they go to preschool or to kindergarten, they're actually behind. And there is not public preschool, right? So if you can't afford preschool, then your child is behind before they even start. So I think that's kind of what, I mean, that was the social aspect that would be good.
It would be. And I don't think I presented the early learning readiness idea very well, but I don't think I really was prepared. I saw the citywide strategic plan, and I could have had somebody come in and kind of went through how the program was designed, because it is a great program for areas that don't have public preschool to help preparing children for social interaction and for learning in education settings. So,
and I didn't even realize it. My son was in daycare that had preschool, so he was prepared. But I remember when he was coming home from daycare or preschool, he was counting, to 80 when he was, 2. So then watching other children who were going to school who didn't have that opportunity, they start off, they can't read, and they don't know their letters and their numbers, and so that's something that is actually pretty important. So
yeah, that one could definitely be,
so it could be part of the social, yeah.
And I mean, again,
aspect.
that's nothing saying that something ranked below something else. I mean, we're gonna do our best to hit as many of the priorities as possible.
Madam President, I can make a comment on why I think social is important. I mean, all of these will have a social aspect to them just by being around a group of people, but I also think most of these would be better fit to be filled by the private sector, and social events I think would be filled best by the city, because the city has the community's values at heart versus their profit margin at heart. So when they're hosting a social event or community block party, it's really just for that community aspect, and it's really for the belonging aspect, rather than when a private company is putting out something like this.
Yeah.
But a private company would be equipped to put on skills development or education or health and wellness. So that's just why I prioritized it.
Okay, great. So I'm hearing that really social across the board is the priority, specifically with teens and, well, specifically with kids, generally speaking. So number 4 is adaptive recreation. Any thoughts about target age ranges for adaptive recreation?
Madam President?
Yes.
Colin, give some thought to adding veterans and military members to that area, because if you're talking true adaptive and folks that would come to any event that you might plan or want to have sponsored, you're probably more likely to get those types of a demographic to be supportive. Not saying there's not other members out there that wouldn't benefit from some things you've discussed, but I think a gap in your top line there for me would be military or vets. Yeah.
Great.
Madam President, I agree wholeheartedly. We do have a connection here in the community to the military, with Mountain Home not being that far away, and so having the ability to provide recreative opportunities for the people who have come back from would be really beneficial for our community.
So just a question about the age range. Do you think they should have their own specific age range? I mean, or do you think that they would fit in with what is already here, correct?
I think generally, if you're going to target a vet or the military, the family members are going to focus in on those activities within their specific ranges. But disability-wise, they're going to be more adults or even seniors for that matter on the adaptive side if you're targeting that demographic. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
I wouldn't get that specific. I would just probably look at adaptive program, and there's all kinds of resources. We can team up easily with Gowan and Mountain Home to see what they have to offer.
Oh yeah, and adult to senior. I mean, especially as the senior population is growing, you're going to see a lot more need for adaptive programming for seniors. So being ready to support that would be really beneficial to the community.
Great.
Madam President.
Steve, hello.
Along those lines with the adaptive recreation, I just wanted to just share something really quick that did my heart a lot of good. I went over to Home Court yesterday, and there's a program over there that if you have a chance to go by and see it before it's done this week, it runs all day long. There's a bike camp over there. It's being sponsored by the local Down Syndrome Society. And it's not, there's a lot of Down syndrome kids. There's also other developmental needs also incorporated with them. But any developmentally challenged kids that want to come and learn to ride a bike are in the home court this week learning to ride a bike. And it's really cool. I was over there a couple of times this week, and while we can't take credit for that as our program, it's an example of how our facilities are available to others to also help run these programs. Which leads me to another point, and that is for all of these, I think it's important to recognize that because our model is to partner with other instructors who are willing to come forward and teach these, we don't do much of anything we do other than the summer camps and some of those things, outdoor adventure camp and the events with staff. Most of them are contractors. So, you know, we still need to find people in the community willing to partner with us to help fill some of these gaps.
Right.
Okay, so number tied for number 4 was outdoor recreation. Any thoughts on drilling down age groups for outdoor recreation, or is this a all ages type of priority?
Yeah,
all ages?
But
Okay.
based on the activity level, it probably will vary which groups could do rock climbing, you know, as opposed to camping.
Madam President, can I add a thought? My own thought with this one is, you know, our outdoor adventure camp is super successful, but the age range for that ends at what, 13? 14. And you know, so we have something for the tweens, but when you get to teens or adults for that matter, a lot of those opportunities fall away. So if I were filling a gap, I'd focus first on the teens and the adults, because we have a very successful tween program currently.
Right, that's true.
Agreed.
Okay. So let's see, number 6, since we skipped 5, was environmental and educational classes. Any thoughts on that one?
Madam President?
Yeah.
Just a quick plug on this one. The reason I put it where I did is because there's already resources in place that are paid by the city to execute and run some of these programs. So I looked at it as a kind of a cherry pick opportunity. Colin already mentioned many of the resources already on the staff for programs that were previously done that have fallen off. This, to me, just to share a little background, is why I picked it quickly, because there's already resources in place and you don't have to put a lot of effort into it other than the coordination piece, and you guys don't have to do a lot of it.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you.
They need an arboretum tour with Elroy.
Lots of flowers.
Yeah.
Yeah, once the arboretum starts growing in, and does Elroy, Steve, do you know if Elroy has all of the trees labeled now?
Well, if they're not all labeled, they certainly mostly are. Last time I was out there, I don't remember any trees that weren't labeled anymore. I think they're labeled.
Yeah, you know, the long-term vision for the Arboretum, just in discussions, I certainly haven't been a part of the visioning much, but we would love to be able to, host school field trips, and, because it can definitely be a really cool educational spot eventually, and even now, if we were, it'd just be nice if they grew up a little bit first.
Yeah, a little more to look at.
Okay. Let's see, where are we at? We're at early learning readiness. We kind of already talked about that. Any more thoughts on the early learning readiness? It almost belongs in the social, combined with the social, I think.
Agreed.
Okay. And then finally, we're at skill development. So any thoughts on skill development's the lowest priority, but at the same time, this is one that is almost the easiest to implement because Jake could get a call tomorrow from somebody that's a photographer or a chef or whoever, and it would really just take finding a spot for them to teach their class. And photography classes, shoot, they can be outside at a park or wherever it is. So, but with that being said, any thoughts on where should be focused in the age ranges, or is this another across the board item?
Well, I think on the skill development side, it's probably more your older, because again, like you said, a lot of the stuff, you've got your whole sports thing that falls into that.
Mm-hmm.
You've got all of these things here that were listed, but then if you look at the gaps in your chart,
yep,
they're at the end with the adults and the seniors.
You bet. Okay.
Madam President, I'll just throw out that I've heard cooking come up multiple times in multiple years while I've been here as a wish list item. So I would agree with everything you're saying, that I think, between the dance and the sports, we've got some of the child skill development demand covered, but there is maybe a gap on the adult side with some of these things that I think there is an interest in.
Okay. Any other comments then before we finish up? Okay, so really the final tactic in this objective is to update our comprehensive financial plans, our staffing plans, and things like that. The goal of the objective is not necessarily to, the end of the goal is not necessarily to implement everything, because implementation is going to come whenever opportunities arise. Some might be implemented sooner, some might be implemented later, but the goal is for us to get to the point where we've identified our priorities, and that has allowed us to maybe adjust our staffing, our future staffing plan. We talked a little bit about having staff in 3 years out. We've got a sports coordinator position coming up for next year being proposed, and then there's a few other staff that are in the comprehensive financial plan. But we'll go back and we will, look at these priorities and decide, if we're going to do this, what do we need to be able to do it? Kind of like we were talking about with Renee. If we're going to have more events, we need to figure out how to get more resources. And so we'll decide what's needed in the way of resources to be able to make some of this stuff happen, whether it's new staff or whether we can do it with our current staff. And then we'll just move forward from there and implement as we can, with the budget and resources that we have. So I appreciate your help tonight, and I think we're all finished.
I think this was a great discussion. This is why we have commissioners from all walks of life, because it really helps us broaden our perspective and see the needs and demands in the community that you bring to the table. So thank you.
Yes, and thank you, Colin, it's nice to have the opportunity to chime in on the list. That's what I feel like. I'm honored and glad to do it. Okay, so we have staff reports. Has anybody left?
I'm going to be brief. I just wanted to let you know that we are in budget presentation season. The budget hearings are today and tomorrow. I did not present today, so I have no specific update for you, but our presentation should be at around 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. So if everybody's looking for something to do and come support, no. But when we get together next time, I should be able to give you an update on where we're at and where things are headed. Certainly at our next formal meeting in August, they will have set the budget, and I can give some more specific feedback then. But I just wanted to let you know that budget hearings are right now.
So do those take place the same way as like a city council meeting, or is it? Actually,
the reason why you see fewer chairs is because they set up a big circular seating area out here with tables, and it's more of a round robin discussion.
Okay. So
we do present with PowerPoints, and staff usually sits on the far side, council circled around, and then these TVs move around so everyone can see.
So are those on a live feed?
They are on a live feed, yeah. Today's budget presentations should already be up on, well, it takes a little while to render, so I don't know if today's is technically up yet, but yes, they are our live feeds for all the budget presentations.
Thank you. Anybody have anything? Are we good? Well then, I guess I need a motion to adjourn.
Madam President,
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn tonight's meeting.
Madam President, I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? All right, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.